Baffro Man has another great question. We're probably not going to spend a massive amount of time on it because we did just spend 20 minutes on your last one. But Baffro Man, you're asking, would be interested on your approach to bringing up children to be athletic, stroke successful at sports. Probably something you can make a whole video on. There's,
We did make a whole video on this, didn't we? Not?
I don't remember.
The multi-athlete fallacy thing. Welcome back to Sixten, and welcome back to another video talking about athletic development. And this one is coming from a commenter on our How Can I Train My Neck video. It's coming from WD Law. Now the comment is too long to read out here. It's quite a little essay. Basically, what WD Law is asking is, in America there seems to be this trend.
So the first thing, right, that I take into account if I was looking at the ideal case scenario, right, if Sikistan had 10 babies who got dropped off at her door and you had to make whatever athlete you wanted to make out of them, for the first probably 8 to 10 years of their life, you just want to make sure, besides all the normal stuff, that they're growing up healthy and happy and they get food and sleep and they feel safe and all that. In terms of their athleticism, the more broad you can make the bottom of that triangle, the better. So you don't just want them playing a field sport. You don't just want them doing a strength sport, a power sport, anything like that. What you really want is you want to build physical literacy. So them understanding how to move their body through space, them having a good understanding of kinesthetics, proprioception, all those things. Sports that would commonly come to mind for that would be things like gymnastics, capoeira, things along those lines where people are really learning how to move their body, build stability, build proprioception. Then what you're probably looking at between the ages of 8 and 12 is them starting some sort of sport. Usually you'd want them to start as many different kinds of sport as possible. That's firstly to continue that building of physical literacy, to continue that developmental pathway that's quite broad and wide and building resilience in their kind of different systems, whether that be muscle, bone, joint, all of those. But also you need them to figure out what kind of sport they want, and you need to figure out what kind of sport they're good at. So this is all along the lines of developing a high level, very, very effective athlete. If if I was a child in this system and they brought me in and just dropped me in a weightlifting gym immediately, no matter what they did to Dara Fitz, he's never going to be a high level elite professional international weightlifter. It's just not going to happen. It's my parents' fault, really. If you dropped Gurf in to be a NBA basketballer, it's probably never going to happen either, right? So a broad selection of sports, you'll build that physical literacy, you'll build that developmental stuff, but also you'll get to see that little Timmy or little whatever its name is. Do you see what Elon Musk called his latest child?
You were saying that, yeah.
Crazy. If you drop them in, you want them in multiple sports, they'll start to figure it out. It might be that their other friends go and play this sport, but usually it's that they have some affinity towards that sport. You'll probably develop with that multi-sport athlete until the ages of around 14 to 16. In certain cases where early specialization is vital, professional soccer would classically be incredibly early specialization. That's to do with the setup of the actual sport itself and how skill dominant it is. But then you also have sports that have to be early specialization sports. These will be things like gymnastics, particularly female gymnastics, where for the actual movements themselves, it's better to have a younger athlete there. There's a number of examples that early specialization is important in. For the vast majority of kind of field sports, even Olympic sports to that line, 14 to 16 is about the time where you start seeing a lot of those additional sports being shed off. Your training frequency in that one specific sport will probably skyrocket or certainly increase as that kind of extra time that's been taken up by other sports starts to be shed off. You can go from 2 rugby sessions a week to 4 rugby sessions a week or whatever that might be. And then you're looking at between the ages of like 16 to 18, pushing the actual body shape and body size of that athlete in the direction it needs to go in. So certain morphological changes are very, very easy to make in developing athletes and developing teens, whereas they're going to be quite difficult to make as a 22-year-old or a 24-year-old if you're already a professional athlete in that system. So if you have an ice hockey player, you know they need to be around 90 kilos when they're going to be playing adult or senior hockey, you don't want them to have to make up that 20 kilo deficit or that 15 kilo deficit in the course of a year or even 6 to 8 months. Ideally, you want to be pushing them in that direction for 3 years as they kind of go in towards adult sport. So,
and make no mistake, you should be pushing them.
Yeah, one thing when you're picking kids sports for your kids, you just let your kid do whatever they want. Put them in as many places as possible. You can like force them to go to different sports until they try it out and give it a few weeks. Certainly in my case, my parents just put me into every sport, and then I just get to choose what I did and didn't want to do.
I'm going to say something that can only be backed up by anecdotal evidence.
Go on.
But I think you see the personality traits for kids who are going to be successful in sports basically from like the ages of like 5 or 6.
I think from 2 or 3.
I think just from, and I think a lot of people probably agree with you. And I bet you if you did a huge survey of a load of different coaches in different sports, you'd see that, who are going to be into sports their whole life. I remember when I was like 5, I just was watching like Bruce Lee, Into the Dragon, Fist of Fury or whatever, and just being like, I want to taekwondo. And then I got my black belt within like 5 years, training like, there were some weekends I did like 7 hours of taekwondo on like Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, like when I was like 8, 9, 10, and I think you'll just see that with loads of different people. They'll just, at the younger age, if they're going to be doing a lot of sports in their life, it's going to be from day one,
Yeah, 100%.
You don't see teenagers suddenly being like, I'm going to play for Munster?
No.
Someone's going to tell them by the time they're 15, like, you're going to play for Munster.
Yeah.